So anyway, where we left off, you guys were at the foaming flask, inside, in the basement, and hey, it's Flavius. So, as usual, Flavius nods and greets each of you individually, and hands over your mission report for the day. You guys are going to be, well, what you know is that Cralius Divindus has acquired texts for unknown reasons. Your goal is going to be to travel to Hammerfall and track down the merchant Hakon Sendu. What is known is that Hakon Sendu sold a magical text to Cralius. That text is under Cralius's lock and key, and he is not permitting others to have access to it. That is fine within the rules of the Arcanum. However, you guys need to figure out what is special about it. As that seems to have been the completion of his work, you guys are going to start trying to track down what it is. Hakon had traveled back to Hammerfall and is currently under an armed guard. Any questions, comments, or other things that you wish to direct toward Flavius? None from Metals? Anything from Jirta? Nothing from Victor? Hammerfall? I meant Hammerfell. Yeah, no, that's a mistype. What likely happened is that it auto-corrected it, because I ran everything through a spell check when it was done. Feels a little odd to leave home for the first time as an Imperial. But Flavius just kind of chuckles. Yep, he remembers first time he had to leave Cyrodiil. Jirta sounds like an adventure. Flavius nods. His intent will be to set some of his affairs up here in the city, and he will be following you guys with some delay. While there, your best bet will be to track down Hakon and attempt to determine what needs to be done to get a second copy of the text ideally. Or if, well, ideally I guess would be if Hakon knows what was in the book, but as a merchant, he's going to be better off tracking down another copy. Hope the fights are worthy. Well, as Flavius heads out, he notes to you, they do things a little differently out there. They have swords. Curved swords. And with that, he heads away. So, you guys are headed out of Cyrodiil into the countryside for what is a multi-day trek. For my reference, what are you guys going to be doing in terms of watches or camps? Typically what I do, how many do we have? 5? I believe you guys have 5 with you, yes. Dragonborn, Pimley, Wadawer, Aisha. We're going to go with 4, so there's going to be 2 watches. 6 is usually where I get into 3 watches. And I never have people take more than 3, because that just gets distracting for everyone involved. Where are my dice? This is a mild problem. I cannot roll up random encounters if I do not have dice. While you guys are discussing watches, I'm going to go get my dice. They're probably behind here. Yeah, I just put them outside of cat reach and tied the bag shut. Which, for the record, that is our first properly licensed photo. Because that is my photo. Well, Lady Geneviève's photo. Of one of our trips out west. Get dice I can easily read. 10, 6, 8. Metals will be on last watch. Get to see the sunrise. Sounds good. Input from the others. Kayleen volunteers for first watch. And Jirta on first watch. So Victor, by public opinion, has been assigned to keep watch with Metals for the second. And with that, guys, you begin cycling your camp. First watch, go ahead and roll me your perception checks. So, perception, look at the skills explained and pick the appropriately sized die. Do note, I think those die are going to be changing, but for right now, based on what your perception score is, roll either D4, D6, D8, D10, or D20. So if you have a 0, it's a D4. Rennis doing his best. Not really great at watch, but he's got his eyes peeled. So let me find your character. Aisha, perception. You've got 1 point in perception, so that's going to be a D6. Also rolled a 4. Now, neither of you guys have dark vision, so are you guys for your watch having a fire lit? In fact, all of the kitties are not here. Katya and Kanara are both MIA, / they're going to be coming up with Flavius for the rear party. It's first watch, and that is when it is the darkest. So you guys clear up a section of the grass and the bushes, start up a fire, relatively smokeless, as the wood is dry and the grasses are free of moisture. Rises up into the sky for what is a clear, starry night. With your perceptions, you guys keep a general lookout about, and shortly into the watch, I'd say, well, shortly, about 2 hours into the 4-hour watch, there's a rustling in the grass, and you guys see the shape of some wolves that are just kind of walking around the camp at the edges of the light, darting in and out of visibility. Kayleen, the first to speak. No sudden movements. Let's just keep our eyes on them. Just kind of watching, keeping eye contact with them as you can as they slowly move in and out of visibility. I could loose an arrow in their way, Jirta mutters. Hope none of these wolves are a clever girl. A certain Metals mutters in her sleep. The other person asleep, Victor, they would make good carpets. So, what do you do? Need to show that we are not weak. Kayleen stands up, just puffs up in her armor, makes herself as big and intimidating as she is able with her Imperial armor on. Go ahead and roll me, we're going to call it a heavy armor check. So, that's going to be you've got 3 skills in heavy armor. So that's going to be a D10. Not 3. What was what did I look at then? I must have looked at someone else. So if it's a 7, roll a D20. Rolls a 19 out of 20. A sneaky Khajiit approaches from behind. So Katya, out of the grass, you guys look behind as you're puffing yourself up, scat to scare away the wolves, and you just see Katya just do a shrug, curls up into a little kitty ball, and goes to sleep, having caught up from you guys, having finished whatever errands Flavius had her running. For reference, Kim, you guys are headed out in the direction of Hammerfell. So, I digress. The wolves, after a little bit, you see that their circles just begin to get wider and wider, and before long you don't see them. It appears they've dispersed over the night, having determined that you guys were not worth it as a target for feeding. First watch comes to a conclusion. Day returns and you guys continue on the trail over to the pass into Hammerfell. Up ahead of you guys are able to spot on the horizon. There's supposed to be a thing without the mercenaries there, but yeah. So a mercenary encampment. They have a wagon. The wagon itself appears to have a broken wheel. And 2 of the mercenaries are kind of fiddling around, fixing it. A horse lazily grazes off in the grass. The other 2 seem to have noted you guys approaching and just kind of looped up with the other 2 who have stopped working on the wheel as you approach. As they're eyeing you all up, greetings. Be on your way. We mean you no harm. Our wagon just seems to have caught a rut wrong. We'll be on the road shortly. So, Victor and Kayleen kind of, need any help? They kind of just look you all over. No, we'll be fine and ready to go shortly. No need for any assistance. Look at all the lawful good characters we have. Roll up a perception, rolls a d4, and the result is 2. Looking it over, what you're kind of able to just get at a surface level is they appear to be very well armed for travelers, and the wagon itself appears to be relatively empty. These are not normal. This is not normal for caravans that would be attempting to travel this route. You would expect someone who could afford armed guards to be, transporting gear.
Hey.
Zolf arrived during the night as well and has now caught up with the party on your trip to Hammerfell. Victor, sounds like free gear. Yeah, there's your lawful good. They're actually chaotic. 1 minute, let's help. 2nd minute, let's loot the bodies. Acquaintances, please. May this one ask, where are you going to? They kind of look at each other, and this guy here speaks up. We're headed over to... Ooh, how do I pronounce it? El here. City on the other side. We do pickups, mercenary work, the like. Have you worked with anyone transporting texts? They shake their head. No, sir. Just basic bodyguard work. Aisha begins studying the situation, but is able to determine nothing different. If you will not accept our assistance, then may we be on our way. Oh, absolutely. Carry on, sirs. They get back to kind of looking over the wheel, examining the brake. Not a lot of talk going on between them. Though, as you guys continue to walk away, you would hear just kind of whispered, "Whew, thought they had it for us." As you guys approach the tree line and get out of sight, Kayleen speaks up. Should we do a approach back? Maybe try to sneak up on them? Metals, do we really need to intervene? Is it necessary? Jirta disappears behind a tree as he mutters, "Sneaky time." Ooh. I have a pointer now. I like this. I could distract them with my new blast of enthusiasm, otherwise known as a fireball. Katya, Victor, do not worry about your lack of stealth. There are plenty of us here who are good at doing the sneaking. Looking back, 2 of them kind of go back to tending the horse, just kind of watching to make sure nothing interferes with it. The other 2 kind of begin just continuing to look at the wheel. Discussion continues as to whether or not the attack should occur. Katya hissing back at Zolf, "Silly elf, there is no fire. There is no need for fire." And Kayleen, "Well, we aren't really sure of anything here, so I'm not sure if the best method is to attack." Though it is quickly pointed out that is the same individual who recommended attacking initially. Jirta says, "I could try to get as close as possible, see if there's maybe something going on." Grass around them is tall, yes? It goes up about 2.5 feet. So just above knee height. Clarification from Kayleen, "Well, I just suggest sneaking into their area and seeing what they up to. Not necessarily immediately up for the murder. Oh, good. Kitty can slither through that grass. Yes, Kitty will slither like snake." Zolf says, "If you're going to sneak, I'm gonna just sit here and admire from a distance," as fire begins to play across his Altmer fingertips. So the rest of the party kind of sets up at the tree line to observe without being easily visible. Not like Snick, like kitten hunting. Sneaky kitty. You guys will find this amusing. Farkas, big old kitty, tried to hide behind a little yellow ball the other day. Metals preps his magic and with a quick cast. Muffle is cast on Katya, so you will not need to roll sneak. You will automatically succeed on your sneak check. I.e., it's as if you had rolled as high as you could have. That is one of the things I need to reword, because technically, even if you muffle Victor, he can still be seen. All of you can sneak. If I attempt such actions, I'm sure to stand out of the crowd. Alright, so, Katya, maximum roll. I will need a stealth roll from Jirta, the Bosmer. Hard to miss a 6-8 Nord? Exactly. So, you 2 split up. Renus, who is your best at stealth, you guys quickly see that he's not able to suitably conceal himself. Oh, I'd cast Muffle on Jirta too if possible. Yep, you're good. We'll retcon that. So Muffle on them both. As Renus starts, he feels himself making noise in the grass, and then just the noise goes away. And you both technically have 2 nat 20s, as both of you could roll up to a 20 naturally. No, Kim only has 2 levels. So that would have, Kim has an 8 plus her level, so 10. Both of you manage to approach with relative ease. You get close to them talking, and as soon as you can hear them, you guys kind of each separately settle down into the grass. And the conversation really isn't anything extraordinary. You hear them just kind of muttering about the wheel, about how they're going to be putting pegs in to try to buoy up the axle. The other two, who are over here in the grass with the horse, are joking back and forth about who they think could have taken the Nord. Plus armor and religion give bonuses. That is true. So yes, you have a nat 20 as well. So they're talking back and forth about who they think they could have taken in a fight, while the other two appear to be kind of just sitting and looking at the wheel and discussing options that they have available to themselves. Occasionally just kind of looking back, and yeah, they're still in the tree line. Doesn't look like they've moved on. As you can see, the trail continues up the mountain, so they see that you guys have stopped in the tree line, and they seem to be making note of that. Fark, is that a food dish? I mentioned he tried to hide, and he's like, that's right, I need to bulk out my body so I can hide behind my stomach. Can we tell what kind of stuff they have in the wagon? So kind of looping around so that you've got a line of sight into the wagon. What you're able to see is they've got a couple chests that seem to have just... You're not able to see what's in them, but they're sealed for transport, so they wouldn't be being accessed. The barrels that have been pulled out seem to be food, water supplies. The bag doesn't appear to have a purpose, though you would reckon maybe it's a coin purse or it could be a traveling satchel. It's a bag of holding. I mean, basically. It's got like 10,000 dragonfly corpses in it, 20,000 gold, and an entire mountain's worth of cheese. You know, like Skyrim bags. What do you think, Farkas Keely? You walked by and got a pets. As you guys continue to sit on, these guys have gotten into a sparring match, and you can hear the clang of weapon on weapon and the tap of weapon on armor. They appear to be relatively skilled, but nothing over the ordinary. Their tactics seem to be less drilled, so they would be individual fighters. The two of them over here have kind of set the wheel down and have gone to just sitting up in the wagon. One kind of keeping his gaze up the road, the other keeping his gaze down the road. And again, you'll still hear a comment. What are they doing in the woods? Here. He's a copy kitty. Sprawl. 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 Katya and Jirta both move back to the tree line to come back and interact with the party. Zolf looking over at Victor. Perhaps we could stage a distraction. Maybe I could be robbed and gain their delightful concern. Request from one of the party to continue on into the mountain pass. Victor agrees. Moving on, though the free gear, quote-unquote, would have been good, though. Didn't do anything incriminating while I observed them, Jirta says. And with that, the party continues on. Zolf muttering, well, there was nothing of interest. Let's just, keep in mind who they were in case we run into them again. With that, you guys have crossed over the mountain pass. Check what Kayleen did. Oh, I saw that. Kayleen slaps Victor in the head for the suggestion of ceiling. More like slaps him in the back. He's tall. You might have had to get a running jump. But you've crossed up into the mountains and you now look out across Hammerfell. The season, relatively spring. As such, there have been rains that have kind of graced the edges of the desert. And so you've ended up with a green coating on what would ordinarily be hard rock and sand. Well, not sand, soil, but a coarse soil. A coarse sandy soil. You guys continue, you walk the trail, slowly but shake. Is it warm sand? No, it's not elsewhere. You guys are in the mountains, it's cold sand. So you continue to take the trail down, wander on, and follow what is a stream bed out into the distance. After what is a couple more days, let me roll up some random encounters, see if there's anything to note. For reference, you guys have been on the road now for 5 days? Yes. So 5 days of travel by foot. as you guys have, it's 2 days. 2 days got you to the mountains, a day through the mountains, and then 2 days on the other side of the mountain. And you guys have arrived at Hell Here. It is an ancient Redguard magical fortress town where these are 2 ancient magical towers. It's the first city that you encounter after leaving Cyrodiil. And given its magical nature, you are hoping that it is where Hakon would have stopped off as well. For Candy and Nikki, Kete feats! Yes, 3 feats have been revealed. As you guys walk in, you guys come across a stall that has various trade goods set up at it, and a very familiar face stands by and is bartering over sacks of goods. As you guys approach, instinctively he turns to you, and it is your merchant, Hakon Sendu. Instinctively, as soon as you see him, he sees you, he kind of freezes. Just kind of looking around. Given that last time you guys showed up, while you may have been intent on murdering him? Ah, old friend, Zolth approaches. Hakon nods, just slowly. Relax, we're not here to murder you this time. The merchant, Hakon, kind of looks back at the stall vendor. I have some other business to attend to. We will discuss your overpriced goods here soon as well. As he begins to motion for you to follow him, the merchant, you would pay twice what they're worth, or you would earn twice what they're worth if you transported them elsewhere. Hakon just yells back, bah! As you continue on your way. Hail, Hakon. This one has missed you. Metal speaks up. So, what is it I could do for you, then? Hakon says, I'm a merchant. There's no need for us to bandy around with words. We have business that I and my colleagues would wish to speak with you about. He nods. Else you would not have followed me out of Cyrodiil. Metal says, words are a barter of their own, Hakon. You know that. We need information from you. What, come to determine the price of leeks and elsewhere? What is it, the information that you are seeking? No, you know this revolves around your dealings with the Arcane University and a certain scholar in particular. May he remain unnamed. Still interested in that book deal, eh? Okay. What do you need to know about it? I'm willing to reveal the name of my employer for a price. I'm also willing to reveal the name of the book that I gave him. Again, prices. I'm in no need of your protection, though, I will say. Should you wish to know the name of my employer? If it causes you to leave me alone and leave me to my business, I'll be willing to part with that for free. The name of the book, though. See, I'm not sure how much good that would do you, but he kind of looks you guys up and down. As you're probably under a well-funded benefactor, 1 token will do. Flavius has agreed to reimburse you for all expenses. Just a quick reminder on that. Name of the book and nature of its contents for 2. He says, I can't sell you what I don't know. I know the name of the book, but I don't know what was in it, other than it was an alteration manual. He takes the 1 token. I worked for Cralius, I believe his last name was Levindus. An extra token is provided as any bonus information he may be willing to part with. He kind of shrugged. I'm not sure why Cralius Devindus needed it, to be honest. It's an alteration tome. We, Redguard, have always been famed for our skill in alteration. We have no time for conjuration or... what's the other one they don't like? Illusion. The lesser schools of magic. However, the tome he requested was quite rare, and while I won't go into details about how I acquired it, let's just say it cost a pretty penny. Tomes like that are not all that common, and I only know of 2 other copies, neither of which was easy to get, or would be easy to get to. So what is this about the other copies? Well, one of them is somewhere lost within Hammerfell. There used to be one in the magical libraries here. It was absconded by a group of bandits who likely have no idea what they've stolen. Whether the book is still intact or not is up for debate. Likely they're going to try to pawn it off somewhere else. The other one is down in Somerset. I believe it was requisitioned by a cabal of the Altmer that are setting up down there. Kayleen mentions, of course, the elves found a way to get involved. Wow. Zolf speaking up. Given our guild members, it may be difficult for us to go there. Haken says, yes, I thought such as well, and it is why I made no attempt to wrest the tome from their grasp. He kind of looks at Zolf and hesitates with his word. You understand, the Altmer cabals can be like magpies, gathering anything of magical that they deem of value. Seems to believe that there are some of the race who seem to believe they are the only heirs to Akatosh who are able to wield the magics. Victor kind of shifts his weight in the back, not really wanting to do the talking, but giving everyone who walks by a stare that's created a bubble around where you guys are talking to prevent eavesdroppers from listening in. As you guys continue to stroll down the streets of Elahir, Haken generally walking you in the direction of the tavern, but making no haste. But yes, if you are looking to know what is in the tome, you will need to either review the one that I sold, or you will need to find the copy that was removed from here. Zolf says, I've not seen much of my kin in my recent life. Haken nods. Is the way of the traveler, I guess. Though, just bear in mind, I understand not all Altmer, but I've never taken a liking to those new Altmer. Can't remember their name at the moment, but they strike me as a group that's likely to cause problems in the future. Hopefully problems I don't need to deal with. Meadows steps up. Well done, Haken. You've helped us immensely. Haken shrugs. Deals the deals. He kind of just takes the coin that he has and moves the pouch onto his belt. So, is there any other assistance I can render, or anywhere you would intend, or any info you need from me regarding Hammerfell? I'll admit, I've intended to live off some of the earnings that I've recently got off the book deal. Made quite a sum. Was considering heading down to elsewhere, but I don't know, if there were a group of armed mercenaries looking for a guide, I'd be happy to hire myself out. Kayleen, oh, and yes, not a word about this meeting, or my sword may have to talk with your tongue, and any who you speak to. Haken shrugs. I'm a merchant. Should other people pay? You've seen it that it is your right to buy information from me. Who am I to deny others that right? I need to get a cat up here to chase the red dot. I digress. So, with that, you guys have arrived at the Crossroads Inn and Tavern. Relatively spacious inn. Lots of room, lots of people. The noise inside is boisterous as you guys have arrived late in the evening. There are minstrels up in dueling lute contests. Flutes occasionally jumping in to join the fray. People are clapping what may loosely be described as singing, though is more just drunken shouting. While in a corner you see people just fencing with swords, and the inn is a place of lively activity. Haken just kind of nods at the owner and points to a back room. The owner nods back and motions that he can go that way. He moves to get settled in, as Haken says that, welcome to my inn. Well, truthfully, I just own a controlling stake in it, and let others run it, but it gives me a nice spot to come and relax. Food is on the house, as is the drink. Is there anything you guys wished to do while you were here at the inn? Or with Haken? Some elsewhere fondue? Stew and mead followed by a hot bath? He nods. Planning on staying in the area, then? Chasing down the local tome? I'd be more than willing to give you guys access to our room. On the condition that anything you find, or anything that you acquire during your loot with the bandits, is sold directly to me. Food and mead sounds good. The orders are taken. Drinks are brought out. mead, the fondue, Cyrodiilic steak, Cyrodiilic brandy. He does say that the bathhouse is one that is outside and not owned by him, but you are welcome to make use of his abode for the time. A gag to silence the large ones, gesturing over to Victor. Loud snores. Ah, the bigger they are, the noisier they are at night. I understand. Metal says, I agree, Hacken. You will reap any spoils we acquire. He nods. Merchants gotta make money. And let's just say, we're both going to profit from this deal. He takes the bottle of brandy and rather than pouring it out, just takes himself a large swig and sets it down. So, last we knew, as Hacken has continued drinking and drinking, he has slowly and surely his tongue has begun to spill about the bandits. He believes they were working for someone, whether it be local cultists or a lord or someone who wanted to embarrass the local library, for it appears that all they had done is during the dead of night they had forced open one of the public magical library's doors and then just grabbed as many books as they could get. Nothing overly fancy, just anything. Books that meant nothing, but as part of that, this tome was there on loan on display. And that is probably the most valuable thing that they had gotten their hands on. Though, for tomes like this, it's more finding a buyer is the difficulty, as most people have no use for advanced level tomes on alteration. He believes that they're going to be working to try to organize transport out to somewhere else, be it north into Daggerfall or south if they're heading to Somerset. Just trying to get extra distance between the kingdoms that would be looking for them and where they're going to be able to make money. He cracks a couple jokes about how they won't be heading to Skyrim because of the boneheaded Nords and their lack of a need for the defensive arts. If they head south, best cut them off before they hit the harbor. He says that the theft was only about 2 days ago. They're probably going to lie low for a day or two, just as they're in the process of waiting for the hunting parties to disappear. Zolt says, well, could they be headed to Valenwood, south of Hammerfell? Wood elves wouldn't care. Likely would eat them. You've heard about those, Pact of the Woods folk, huh? Kind of, throws a eye over at Jirta. Do you eat people? Kayleen speaks up. You speak of the Green Pact. He just, yeah, that one. Jirta just kind of puts his eyes off to the side, looks him back. Only the people that are annoying. He goes, ha! Well, I assure you, I am safe then, as I am the least annoying person. He kind of chuckles at his joke and then just gives you a side look like, I don't know if he was joking. We're going to assume he was joking. He might not have been joking. Probably joking. But could have not been joking. So that said, that is actually the end of our session. Because I thought you guys were going to fight the bandits. / the caravan. Don't worry. You'll get a chance to fight them later, Dragonborn. So they were bandits? Yeah, they were bandits. They do have a broken wagon that they're repairing, and it is their wagon. But they are bandits. Would have been one less enemy to deal with next session. Next time we listen to the Nord.